Hello and welcome to the channel. This is the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion, and it's 2025. So what I'm going to be doing is a year-in review of 2024 and also talk about what's coming in 2025. So as we've just made it through Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to show a couple of Christmas gifts that I got that were of the nature that might be of interest to this channel and those who watch my videos. This book is called Vinyl, The Art of Making Records by Mike Evans. This was given to me by my son and daughter-in-law. A great book. Shows the history and evolution of record making through all the decades from its inception, the significant issues of records that came out at the time, and there's why they were important to the birth and growth of record making, and then the equipment that was involved in reproducing records through these decades. And it was interesting from a historical standpoint to learn new things, but also just to skip down memory lane and start seeing some of those things that were available starting in the 60s when I first got engaged with audio gear and records, and seeing the evolution that's occurred just in the past 50 years. I also received a great record, which is a 2x45 analog productions of Julie London's Julie Is Her Name. My buddy Brad got me this because he knew I had an OG of it, and I really loved the sound of it, but of course it's a bit aged, and so he said this was a knockout, and he was right. I mean, you cannot believe the fidelity in the 1950s from something that is well recorded and then well mastered onto vinyl disc. Just a smooth and full presentation with fabulous imaging. Just the voice itself carries so much. And there are even some effects that are done on some of the songs in echo and things that really just open up totally in the room and really magnify the beauty of her voice and the power of it and the ability of it to smoothly transition from track to track. Now, of course, with the 45 RPM, you only have some sides with 2 tracks on it, but it is luscious. There's no other word that I can use for it. So thanks, Brad, for getting me that and stepping me up. To me, it was the perfect Christmas gift because he was right. It's probably something I might not spend the money on because I don't listen to that music a lot, but it was great to get because now I can appreciate what he was saying about how good of a pressing this is. So if you don't have this and you really like great sounding records, you might consider it. And lastly, on the end here, I have Tears for Fears. Now, I didn't get this for Christmas. I've had it for a while. I did an actual review of the record. Why it's here, Songs from a Nervous Planet, is it is my record of the year of 2024. Now, what's ironic about this record is it's mostly live. There are 4 new tracks on the LP. If you get the CD, you get a bonus track, and it's a great bonus track called Landslide. So if you hadn't picked up the CD, you might find that and find that you have that extra song, and it's not a loser song. It's a very strong song. But be that as it may, this record really bowled me away, and I am not one that likes live records a lot. I've said that before. They just don't seem to always do much for me, and a lot of that has to do with why I like this record, because 3/4 of it or more are in fact live. First of all, the songs that are done are dead accurate to the way they were recorded. I like that. I don't really like when groups go out and really mangle songs and start to change them when they do them live. I really like to see how close they can get it to the way it sounds coming out of the studio. Another thing is the sound quality is fantastic. The recording, the microphone setup, the separation and the imaging, it is very well done on this record. So having seen them in July of 2023 in Austin, I know what it sounded like live, and it was great. So another thing here, of course, is the emotional connection to it being a concert that I saw as well, and how well it now brings back that memory. And as a bonus, you have those 4 or 5, if you have the CD, extra tracks, and they're good as well. A couple of them are ones that I think probably were meant maybe for the previous album, The Tipping Point, and weren't on them, so they fit right in. So great job on this release. It comes in a 2 LP or a 3 LP version. There are more songs on the 3 LP, obviously, and that's the version I got. I did get the other as well. A bit of a completist on Tears for Fears for records, as it turns out. I also got the 5.1 Blu-ray of it as well. And to be honest, I haven't finished hooking up that system yet, so I haven't listened to it, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. So my 2024 album of the year, Tears for Fears, Songs from a Nervous Planet. It's well worth getting. So some thoughts about 2024. For me, a lot of things happened, the biggest being the move we made in May and having to reorganize things and, rethink where I'm going to house these in the new home and shelving and all these things. The year is always one that you reflect on the things that came in way of changes. And for me, that was probably the biggest thing. Now, another great thing of 2024 was the continuing collaboration with certain people that I've met through this channel, and some new people that I met through the channel as well. My friends down in Pearland that we got some Beatles records from and revisited, and then brought a third party, a guy named Trey, with us from Houston, that also got to meet them and got to pick up a few things and getting to see his great collection. So these are high points for me, getting to see Nick again down in Louisiana. Getting to see some folks at the Austin Record Show, seeing Concert Buddy. I mean, so these relationships continue, and they really make up part of why this becomes more than just the music. It also becomes why it matters, and these relationships that develop over time. So I appreciate those aspects of what came by in 2024. Now for 2024, I'm going to be rationalizing my physical collection a lot, focusing on what I truly want to retain and what I will shed, because I don't want to move them again. So my goal is, really that these excess records go to people who enjoy and care about them and care for them, as opposed to people who are just going to flip them. Same kind of philosophy my friends down in Pearland had about their Beatles collection and who was buying that. Even if I'm just getting a record that I'm upgrading in my collection and saying I'm going to keep that one and I'll have a few others that are left, it's an opportunity to pass it along to someone, really doing a bit of a pay it forward attitude and, really not going after high dollars on it or anything like that. Just trying to move things to people who can really enjoy it. And my closest friends that I've made in this channel in the community will be the ones that I offer those to first. So what am I looking for in 2024? Well, completing more shootouts, I think, is important. And I look forward, of course, to the Atlantic 75 rock titles, especially, that are still to come out. Got a few that I'm holding that I need to get a couple reviews on, Genesis ones. And I've also got Yes coming out with the release of Fragile here in January. So that one's going to be important. Another is Mobile Fidelity's One Step of Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. Of course, we lost Quincy Jones here late in 2024. Great producer. Him with Bruce Swedien engineering, made some great music. The Thriller One Step was excellent from a detail standpoint of really getting a little more out of the record, but some of the danceability of some of the songs really wasn't as strong as we got out of the OG, for example. We're going to see if that aspect continues with off the wall. So I think another thing industry-wise is we've come to a point where we've pretty well topped out on pressing plants, I think, and we're going to find out who's going to survive, because the truth of the matter is demand has gone down. We now have more capacity than we have demand, and that's a good thing. But will, in fact, there be a shaking out of some of the plants that maybe aren't quite making the grade on quality, or are being outbid by other plants, or have reputations or business issues that are maybe a little problematic? We're going to see, but I wouldn't be surprised to see 2025 at the end of this year show that maybe a plant or two shuts down or consolidates or does something like that, because we're just at a point where I think the volumes were up during COVID, of course, and decisions were made to take care of that. And then, the numbers didn't stay as high as they were. And so maybe some overgrowth in capacity was part of the time lag that occurs in getting a plant going, right? So we'll have to see. We'll see what goes on with these direct from label models. Will it shift for us? Customer expectations sometimes they were up in 2025. A lot of that focused toward Rhino because they got into this high fidelity series and did quite well with it. They hit some out of the park for sure. And the Cars was a big hit out of the park. Black Sabbath's debut album. Of course, we had the box sets of the Doors, ZZ Top. So they're really getting into it and even offering now a new series a little below that. So, the fat in people's wallets has shrunk and discernment, I think, has increased. And again, the open spray of social media complaints is not to be taken lightly. We do see that there are improvements in these areas, whether it's jackets of the records or whether it's the shipping and the packaging, but also customer service, getting through to people. That's the thing. You call, there's differences. I mean, Rhino's ability to respond is lagging compared to people like Analog Productions, Acoustic Sounds, and let's say Mobile Fidelity too, that I contact with more regularity. So that's a bit of an issue. I think that investment needs to be made. I think if all we're going to do is keep increasing the growth of records coming out and still having the same issues, that's going to dilute the effectiveness of that effort. So I really hope to see that is something that is dealt with for all record labels to be more engaged with their customers in a timely manner. I think that's extremely important because you can sell a few records, but do you keep the customers? Over time, that's what you have to prove. And same can be said of the technology aspect of online sales, right? Some of these sites are really not up to the task. Tracking inventories, knowing how many units you have remaining to sell, then the proper communication of those orders and issues around orders. I've had orders where I normally get a notification. I don't get a notification. Then something just shows up, for example, or I've called them only to find out that it had been shipped. So even when you have good customer service to answer, maybe the answer is, hey, I had a credit card on file and it got to an expiration date, and now something I expected that was going to come didn't come, and I had to call to find out that, in fact, it's not going to come until I call you. So in your system, you had to have a rejected order. You had to have a thing saying that the order couldn't transact and make money for you because of a credit card issue. So maybe the record seller should get hold of the customer and say, we're trying to process your order. We'd love to send you the records. Here's what's going on. As opposed to later going, hey, 3 weeks gone by, where's my records that I expected because I know they dropped. So these back office deficiencies, they turn off customers. And a lack of investments in these basic systems and the human systems then to align to that to make those contacts is extremely critical. I mean, that's going to have just as much future sales impact as anything else, like pressing, quality, and pricing. So, and while good customer service is a strength, it's time again that they take corrective actions for things that could have been solved permanently through preventive actions. The need for customers to chase things down is only an Achilles heel. And I think that that's something that I think the different sellers need to think about. They need to make sure their systems are recent and up to date and accurate and trackable. And they need to make sure that when there is a hiccup with an order, that communication line is opened and it is overt, and that they are going after the customer to let them know when there's an issue. I think these are the things that will make for who really gets better over time and who has that reputation over time. Because as the flooding of the market occurs and as people have less income to just toss around, these things are going to start to fall into the minds of the buyers and what they do, why they do it, when they do it, and with who they do their business with. I think it's an important consideration that needs to be made, and something that honestly, looking back on 2024, struck me enough to where I really thought about that part of the equation and wanted to meet it head on. And as these things occur, if they occur continually, then we'll call them and name them out, because I think that that's the opportunity people have to make a change. But again, if we're going to have problems, social media is going to make it very aware, and people will more often complain than say you did a great job. Unfortunately, I do think we need to call out when they're doing a great job as well. So hopefully 2025 will see improvements in these areas, as well as selections of the reissues that come out and the new titles that come out as well. So what I'm going to do in 2025 is more shootouts, more visits to places. I'm on my way to Waco today to see my buddy Armando Cardoso at Vintage Mio Records and get some things going on what they're doing for the new year. I'll be sharing that with you as well. And I have a string of shootouts to record. Did 5 of them last week with Brad. And the first one that'll be coming out is Boston's self-titled album. So looking forward to getting out that one in the next few days. So as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so by clicking on the bell and the all. And if you have in fact watched this and liked it, give it a thumbs up, and comments are always welcome. I hope you have a great new year and everything is well with your family and loved ones, and that this new year brings you health first, peace second, and a little bit of wealth to buy a few more records. So thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you next time. Take care, everybody.